Food Wars is a really weird series where characters eat such delicious food, their clothes explode. And this, at first, I thought was a funny little thing in the series. But no, this is an actual canonical event that happens in the series. This has so many other uses, and I should make a video on that. But despite being as ridiculous of a series as it is, Food Wars also manages to tell a B-plot story that is some of the most realist experience that many creators have possibly felt at one point or another, excluding the exploding clothes. And regardless of whether or not you are a creator, this will most likely relate to you in some way if you have ever felt burnout. In the 21st episode of the third series, we get to hear Soma's father, Joichiro Cyber's, backstory. And I was not ready for such a ridiculous series to insert such a powerful story that covers the reality of depression and burnout. As someone who makes content on subjects and topics I am passionate about, this episode hit me on another level. And I'm sure for anyone who has watched this episode, who also makes content they're passionate about, will understand why. There are many creators out there who have talked about being publicly at the top of their game when internally they didn't know where they were going. From Jacksepticeye talking about his place on YouTube.
I just didn't really know what I was doing. I didn't know where I sat in the ecosystem. I didn't know what type of content I wanted to do. I didn't know what the audience wanted. And I struggled really heavily with that for a while. And sure, some stuff did do well, but it felt really cookie cutter and not what I wanted to do, so I got burnt out on it.
To Markiplier no longer feeling like he's looking up.
Because, you spend so much time looking at the top of the hill, you don't think what you're gonna do when you get there. And here I am now with almost 17 million people about to subscribe, and I'm trying to comprehend what that means. I almost don't feel like I'm looking up anymore. There are certain realities about this job that weren't apparent, when I was starting out. And some of the harder realities are you can't be there for everybody, and that's the hardest blow to take.
And even John talking about how reaching his goal didn't make him happy, and if anything, made him more depressed.
I want to talk about that final year before I hit 1 million. I try not to care about that shit, I really do, but 1 million subscribers is seen as this ultimate validation that you were there, that you succeeded, that you did something that so few people do. And all the hours, all the energy you poured into these videos, that it mattered, like you mattered. I get a text from my friends and it just says, lol, 1 million. And I sit back and I wait for that sense of euphoria to kick in. I wait for that sense of freedom. And I don't feel anything. And out of that confusion comes 2 words, and they scare the shit out of me. What now? And I don't know what's now. I don't know what comes next. There is no answer. If you want to know what's over the 1 million subscriber mountain, there isn't anything. There is just the journey that brought you there. And I really wish I'd spent less of that journey caring what people I never met think of me, or obsessing over numbers and letting those numbers dictate my value as a person. That is what this job does to you. That is what it's like being a content creator.
Burnout is all too real of a subject that so many creators and so many people just in general will experience in their life. And this is exactly what we see in this episode. Joichiro is literally at the top of his game. One could even argue he is the world's greatest chef. Everyone is looking forward to what he makes next. What his next new dish will be. How he will single-handedly introduce a whole new genre of cooking to the culinary world never before seen. And how this one teenager will lead the culinary world into a future of what it means to be a chef. All this pressure leaves Joichiro massively depressed and burnt out, because something he had once loved with so much passion had had all its enjoyment drained from it by those simply wanting the next big thing. The constant voices of the world pushing him to make the next dish better than the last. The constant voices of the world pushing for the next big thing. And is that not just the very embodiment of YouTube, the platform? As a creator, whenever I open the YouTube studio, do you know what the first thing I'm greeted with is? Is it my video upload tab? No. Is it my comment section where I can engage with the community built around the channel where I talk about that which I am passionate about? No. Is it a tab informing me of important information that I need to know, such as a copyright claim, demonetization, or strike? No, because that page does not exist for some reason. Instead, the first thing I see when I open the YouTube studio is my video ranking of my last video in comparison to my last 10 uploads. Where if you get a 1 out of 10, you get confetti! Hooray! Yay! You made the best video ever! But if you get a 2 out of 10, it's not the best video ever made, is it? Oh, it could be better. Ooh, it's doing well, but, you know, not 1 out of 10, you don't get confetti, you get nothing. Could have been a better video. And YouTube reminds you of your video's ranking every time you open the studio. Even if it is the best video you've ever made, that you are the most proud of, and it's something you have put your entire heart and soul into, if it is not analytically, objectively the best video you have ever made, it's not good enough. But more on that later in the video. Fun fact, I actually have my video content page bookmarked, so whenever I want to check on my videos, I don't first have to go through the homepage of the studio where YouTube will judge passion via cold hard numbers. And even if you do get that fabled 1 out of 10, what about your next video? Will that also be a 1 out of 10? And if so, what about the next video? And the next? And the next? And the next after that? Statistically and objectively, no matter how you look at it, even if you release the 10 of the highest production standard possible videos, which overnight shoot up to the top 10 videos on YouTube, the platform in general, not just your channel, the entire platform. If you make 10 videos that are objectively the most viewed, most liked, most engaged, most comment, most watch time, most retention engaged content on the entire planet, objectively, one of those will still be statistically classified as 10 out of 10. The worst performing video of your last 10. Even though it is the 10th best video on the platform, could be doing better. And it's not just your own dishes or videos you have to compete against. There are all the other chefs or creators. And I hate that phrase, compete against. YouTube was at one point a communal platform where people used to collaborate because they just wanted to collaborate. Now they only do it if there is something to be gained out of it. But even so, it is true that you are competing against other people on the platform to get people to watch your videos. As unbelievable as it sounds, eventually there will come across a creator who will surpass Mr. Beast. Though, to be fair, that is getting easier with each passing day lately. Which is actually something we see in the anime, not Mr. Beast. Although one could argue that this character could be seen as an allegory for Mr. Beast. That could be a fun, well, not fun, but interesting video topic. In the series, we see Joichiro dethroned from the world's greatest chef by Asahi. Someone came along and dethroned the #1 seat. While Asahi did have a passion for cooking when he started, by the time we meet him in the series, he is not cooking because he is passionate about cooking. He is cooking because he wants to be #1. And this isn't just relevant to the #1 spot, but that is a topic for another day. But on an even deeper level that affects everyone uploading content to this platform, we are constantly fighting against one another to make sure whatever we make catches the customer or viewer's eyes. But as I said, I'll talk about that more later. Returning to Joichiro's school days, another recurring message throughout the episode is how Joichiro has it easy, that all his talent came naturally to him, that he is gifted and doesn't deserve all the praise he gets.
So, a few of us here suspect that you brown-nosed your way into the competition. How can anyone have the intelligence and intuition to come up with dishes like these? Is that what true genius is? That has to be it. He has it so easy.
And this, once again, is way too relatable to being a YouTuber. Quote unquote, YouTuber. While there are a few reasons I refer to myself as a creator and not a YouTuber, one of the reasons is, despite everything, there is still a stigma against YouTubers, in the belief that many of the bigger creators don't deserve what they have.
Like, it's unfair. I'm not trying to brag or anything. I've wrestled with this a lot over the years. Just how much money I suddenly fell into. It messed with me.
People underestimate how much time this takes. I spend hours every single day doing this stuff. If it's not recording the videos, people think I just sit at home and play games all day long and then just upload them. That's not what happens. I spend like 85% of my time editing those videos, and what you gotta do is just sit down, spend a lot of time perfecting what you want to do, and then taking the time to edit them right, get all your settings right. You have to sit down, you have to think of something to do in your video. You do the video, you sit down, you edit it. You have to put the time in to make your videos as good as possible. And no, this isn't easy. A lot of people think because I sit at home all day doing my job that it's really easy. It's not. It's the hardest working job I've ever had in my life. It's super hard. You are on all the time. It's 24/7. You never have days off if you're doing YouTube properly.
Or that we're all loud, obnoxious, center of the attention-seeking individuals. While this is true of a vocal minority of the YouTube community, unfortunately, they are also the loudest group of the YouTube community. So people only ever see or hear about them, painting all creators in a bad light, despite the fact there are so many amazing creators out there that have done so much good. Or critics of YouTubers or creators will boil down all their hard work to the idea that doing such a task is easy, because it looks so easy. This was especially true back in the mid-2010s, when the gaming Let's Play boom happened, and many corners of the internet labelled such creators as lazy, as all they were doing were playing a game. And anyone can do that, but as evident by how oversaturated the genre is, many people did try that and realised it is so much harder than it looks. The reason people saw it as so easy to do was because of all the hard work that goes into making something look easy.
Anyone who knows me knows that I'm a workaholic, knows that I pour my absolute being into the stuff that I do, into the YouTube videos that I make. And sure, a lot of people would argue, well, they're just Let's Plays, but you don't realize how much effort it takes to be able to do this twice a day, every single day, at the exact same time every day, to keep up that sort of schedule.
A great example of this is musicians. Whenever you see a musician play, they make it look flawless and so easy, but what you don't see is the months or even years of practice that it took to get to that point. The same is true of content creating or cooking. A little behind the scene piece of information. For every 1 minute of content you see from me, it roughly translates to 1 hour of editing. And that isn't even taking into account the literal days, weeks, or in some cases, months I spend writing a script. And the, in most cases, more than double of that messed up lines, dead airs, flub ups, or mistakes I cut out of the video. I'm not going to say my videos are peak content. They are the best that I can make. And it may look simplistic, but there is so much work that goes into creating a video behind the scenes. And I don't think many people realise, not specifically talking about myself, but so many Let's Players back in the day, how hard it was to constantly be on, constantly be entertaining, constantly focus on the game, and make something that was that entertaining that people constantly came back to watch it. Joichiro makes cooking seem so easy, but he can only do that because of all the hard work he put in behind the scenes. Even in the very episode, Joichiro is talking about all the effort that went into his most recent dish, and all the testing and changes he needed to make, only to be cut off mid-sentence to be asked about his next new dish and when it'll be ready.
It took quite a lot of trial and error to finally create the dish I prepared for you today.
Well then, tell us about the next creation you've got in mind.
You have a new level of flavor for us, yes?
I think this is all too common in the world now. In the fast-paced, constantly stimulating, cut out even a second of dead air or pause environment we live in, it doesn't really matter how great of a thing that you've just consumed was. Where is the next hit of dopamine coming from? Platforms like TikTok constantly push new content so you're never bored. But is that a good thing? Is it good to not have a moment to yourself to think? Is it not good to have a moment to reflect on what you've just watched? Is it not good to actually be able to enjoy the content you just watched instead of constantly going into a new video to get another hit of dopamine? Is it not good to reflect on what you've just watched and appreciate the work that went into that? In a lot of cases, it's stolen content, I will admit that. But when it is a genuine idea created by a creator that they have put time into making, and you've just swiped past in half a second of glancing at it, is that worth it? After creating a never before seen dish in the culinary world, instead of sitting in it and reflecting on the meal they just ate, and ponder all the hard work that went into creating such a dish by no less than a student, they instead just ask, hey, where's the next big thing? This is perfectly embodied by the zeitgeisty nature of YouTube over the last decade, where every video fighting for the first place is always trying to be bigger. While Mr. Beast is a large contributing factor to this, it started long before him. Back when he was saying Logan Paul 100,000 times, YouTubers were trying to make the craziest fidget spinner video you've ever seen. You've never seen a video like this before. It's a fidget spinner that you've definitely never seen before. No one's ever seen a video like this, including creators like Mr. Beast. But this environment of always having to top the top every single time leads to the destruction of passion for what? Fame? Money? Notoriety? Is that really worth it? If you don't care about what you make and you are just in it for the fame, money, or notoriety, then sure, that's fine for you. But in doing that, you take something from those who create for passion and rob us of something. I don't know what, but something is lost in a world where you only make content for the views instead of for passion. Every video I make has always been because I have something to say about it. I have never made a video just because I wanted to make a video on this popular topic. I have never looked at something and went, I have nothing to say about this video, but it's popular right now, so I'm going to make content on it and make something up for 10 minutes just so I can get watch time. No, I will look at a subject and go, I am passionate about this. I'm going to make a video on this, even if it's not what is popular right now. I could easily make a video every other day on whatever the trending anime topic was and probably get a lot of views that way. But that's not fun. And Joichiro is a lot like that. He never wanted to be the #1 chef. He just wanted to cook. And the only person he was fighting against was himself. Not because he wanted to, but because he didn't want to disappoint others. He was putting the happiness of others in front of his own. And of course, eventually, that got to him. It broke him. Which is also very true of content creating.
Throughout the year, I had kind of felt it. I felt like my mental health was just deteriorating over the year. And it's also because I always try and stay so positive about everything. I tried to stay so upbeat. I tried to see the good in everything. And I tried to see the silver lining in all these things that are happening. And I don't know, I think I was just putting too much pressure on myself to kind of do that. And I wasn't giving myself any time to think or to breathe or to just absorb and reflect on what was going on. And over like the course of the year, I felt like I was getting worse and worse. And then I think when I actually took the time off and I didn't have anywhere else to run to, when that didn't happen, I started to just feel so lost.
Just like Joichiro, because you only ever see them at their best, many YouTubers and creators become built up as these mythic beings that are placed upon a pedestal far beyond human reach, when in reality, they're just people living their lives and going through all the same hardships and struggles as everyone else. However, the public, for the most part, never sees that. They just see this creator on their screen, which is a depiction of the creator has filmed and deemed okay to show you. You don't see their mess ups. You don't see the mistakes. You don't see them getting angry at being unable to open a pickle jar at 3 AM in the morning because they just want one damn pickle. You don't see that part. You only see the cultivated version that they've created that they're willing to show with the world. And in a lot of cases, they don't want to show the negative side of them. They only want to show the best parts of them, which leads to the idea that they are perfect beings and they are somewhat responsible for that. However, many of the creators will show their mistakes. They'll show themselves being human. They are people who are just making content because they're passionate about it. As I've said before, This is one of the reasons I leave so many of my flub-ups in my videos. I don't want to be seen as perfect. I am not, and neither was Joichiro or any of the creators you look up to. I don't know the age of you watching this. My statistics says the largest audience is 18 to 34, and if you are part of that category, I hope you already know this, but if you are a younger viewer, listen to these words. It is fine to look up to a creator. I did that. I still do. I still look up to so many creators because so many of them are such good role models and have inspired me far more than I could ever put into words. But you also have to remember, they're not these untouchable beings. They're just people. And don't lose yourself in looking up to them, turning into idolizing and mythologizing them. Because as soon as they do show a single piece of humanity that shows them in a flawed manner, who knows what happens? If you made them into this perfect being and they show a single part of humanity, how will you react? YouTubers and creators are just people. And even though there are many creators out there that will try and portray this image of their perfectionism and will try and show themselves as these mythological perfect beings, they're not. And in most cases, those channels can't last because eventually it collapses or they get exposed for various things because it turns out they're not perfect, they're just egotistical narcissists who want to present the world as perfect. And so many of those who do get thrust into the spotlight on YouTube or any platform are often people who would rather suffer in silence than disappoint their audience, which is why so many creators burn out and take breaks, sometimes never returning. In a strange way, I was very lucky that I didn't make it as a gaming YouTuber. When I burnt out on gaming, no one was there, so there was no one to disappoint when I quit. When creators find a formula that works and the views start rolling in, if you want to grow, the best thing to do is to keep doing whatever is drawing in all those views, whether you enjoy it or not. However, even if it's a hard choice to make, it is something that if you love and you are being pushed to the point that you have grown numb to it, the best answer is to stop as soon as it stops being fun, or at the very latest, as soon as it starts making you miserable. This is the choice Joichiro was never given until it was too late. For almost a year, I made only Beastars content and pigeonholed myself into that kind of content. If I had of blown up, I don't know if I would still be making content right now. I do enjoy making my Beastars content, but if that was all I felt like I could make, I would burn out so quickly on it. I love Beastars, but as you've seen from the recent increase in content, I love anime as a whole, and there is so much more I want to talk about beyond Beastars. This is what happened to Joichiro. The thing he loved and everyone wanted to see was no longer something that he personally enjoyed, but all the voices around him were telling him to keep going. And so many good-intended, kind-hearted individuals who make content just for fun and do end up in the spotlight will often feel like this, where they don't feel like they can stop because they don't want to disappoint the audience that gets enjoyment from their content.
Because my first reaction video became my most viewed video when I first did it, so I was like, oh, okay. And people said they enjoyed my reactions, so I was like, oh, okay, I'll do a few more and a few more. And it just came to a point where it was just constant, just having to be reacting to new releases as fast as possible, and it burnt me out. And then I was like, this isn't fun, but the analytics are telling me this is what I should do because it's getting me the views.
Right before the blue competition, Joichiro finally lets Gin see his vulnerability. Joichiro almost breaks down in the celestial room, talking about how lost he is, how he doesn't know what he's striving for, why he's cooking, or what he's even searching for. To once again talk about the video John made, he talks about the road leading to 1 million subscribers, and the belief that once you reach that milestone, he would finally be free. Because that is a sad truth of the world. There is no top of the mountain. There is no end. There is no completing life. There will only ever be when you are happy with where you are. Even if a creator did come along and shoot up to 1 billion subscribers, a feat never before seen and most likely never to be seen again, being something almost impossible to consider, would that then be the peak of the mountain? No, because there are always more milestones, You've reached 1 billion subs? Cool. Now aim for 2 billion. Keep climbing that mountain, and once you do reach 2 billion, aim for 3 billion. And after that, 4 billion. 5 after that, 6, until the entire world is subscribed. But no matter how much you climb, you will die before you ever reach the top. Because the only way to reach the top would be to have every single person on the planet subscribed to your channel. That would be the top of the mountain. But even then, there is another mountain. Even if you had every single person on the planet subscribed to your channel, even including the astronauts in space, how many of them are actually watching? And it won't be until you get every single person on the planet who is also subscribed to watch that you will reach the top of your mountain and have nowhere else to go. Except there will still be another mountain. Even if every single person on the planet is subscribed and watching, how many of them are watching the whole video? How many of them are staying past the 30-second mark? How many of your videos have less than 100% retention? So then there's another mountain. Now you need to climb the mountain and get every single person who is subscribed and watching to watch 100% of your content every single time. The only way you will ever reach the top of your mountain is when you decide you have. Whether you're sat at 100, 1,000, 10,000, 100,000, a million, or even 10 million subscribers, the peak of the mountain is where you decide the peak of the mountain is. I don't believe chasing a metric will ever make you happy. This isn't to say don't have goals. Goals are a good thing, but don't just chase something just to chase it, when all it does is make you miserable. If you're trying to grow a channel to 1 million subscribers just because you want 1 million subscribers, 1 million subscribers will not make you happy. One of my goals for 2025 is to grow the channel to 10,000 subscribers strong. This is a massive goal, and chances are it won't happen, which will suck. But I'm okay with that because my happiness is not tied to that number. If it does happen, that'll be amazing, and I'll probably make a video where I end up blubbering. But if not, I'll just keep creating as long as creating remains fun for me. And maybe one day we will reach that 10,000 point, and that I'll be happy. That'll be my peak, I think. Probably not though, because honestly, I'd love to actually reach 100,000. But then, once again, that is the constant grind. Once I hit 100,000, will I want 1 million? Probably not. My end goal for YouTube is, in a sense, to have it as my job. I do not want it as a job to be a YouTuber. I want it as my job so I can make the content I'm passionate about, and where I won't have to go into the office 5 days a week, so I only have 2 days a week to actually focus on my videos. I want to be able to focus on my videos or my content that I want to talk about for as long as possible. And when it does stop being fun, I will reflect. And if I choose that I don't want to do content anymore, I will step away and I'll be happy with my life because I have enjoyed making the content I've made. I'm not going to step away because I've reached 1 million subscribers, or I'm not going to keep going until I reach 1 million subscribers. Once content creating stops being fun for me, that's where I'm stopping. As cliche as it sounds, the statement, happiness comes from within, really is one of the truest statements that exists. The way Joichiro learnt to enjoy cooking again was he learnt to enjoy cooking again. He stopped seeking the next milestone and instead just focused on cooking in a way that made him happy. While at Totsuki, Joichiro was always striding towards the next milestone, whether he wanted to or not. Slowly, Joichiro went from cooking because he enjoyed it to cooking because others wanted more of him, even though he didn't want to do what they wanted. He was only creating because that was what was expected of him, which led Joichiro, at the peak of his popularity, leaving Totsuki altogether. He had burnt out, and the constant grind of needing to one-up every new release he had made had destroyed all the fun of creating for him. And how many creators can you think of where such a quote is applicable to? Many of which, I'm sure, never found their love for creating again. Over my years on this platform, I've watched a few creators who were making content because they were passionate about it. And then either through one viral video or an algorithmic bless or perhaps curse, they blew up. And they had so many eyes on them that was way too much, leading them to quit. And that really sucks. Some of these creators had hundreds of videos on their channel and then just said that they didn't enjoy anymore because the viewers had come to expect one kind of content from them, because that one viral video that blew up that they didn't care about had gained them all those subs and views, and people wanted more of that content even though they just made that as a joke. I've spoken about this a bit in the past, but when I did stop doing gameplay videos, it was because I had burnt out so heavily on content. And afterwards, there were a few months where I just did not play any games, which is most likely what would have happened to Joichiro if he had kept going. But instead, he took a break. He distanced himself from food, and eventually, he found the joy in cooking he once had, which is what I did too. I started playing games again, not for a camera, but for myself. I didn't need to try and be funny. I didn't need to try and do anything productive in the gaming session. I didn't have to make anything beyond what I wanted to. If I wanted to follow one reef back for an hour just to see where they went, I could do that, and I didn't have to worry about making it the best thing ever or the most entertaining. Just like Joichiro, he rediscovered his joy of cooking, the fun of experimenting, the experience of making something that should not work just to see what the outcome will be, and the joy of just making something. And he didn't find it by constantly trying to make the next fanciest dish he could. He didn't find it by trying to make the next big thing in the culinary world. He didn't find it by trying to be the best chef ever. He found his love for cooking in something far more simple. Cooking what he wanted to cook. He cooked for Tamako because he wanted to. He cooked for Soma because he wanted to. And he cooked for his customers at Yukihira because he wanted to. He cooked because he wanted to cook. And because he could see the genuine enjoyment in the faces of the people who ate his food. Not because it was the fanciest dish he ever created, or a new fusion of flavours never before seen in the world, or because it was a dish made by Chef Joichiro Saiba. No, but he enjoyed making those dishes because they could see the passion Joichiro put into his food, and was something to be enjoyed and scoffed down with how delicious it was, where the customer thanked him for this everyday meal, instead of looking at it as this fancy new thing that should be critiqued and checked and marked and rated and pushed against another meal to see which one's better. It was just a meal that people enjoyed, and he enjoyed making. And I think that's the biggest takeaway from this video. If you are doing something you're passionate about, it should be fun. Even if it's exhausting, even if it's a mountain of work, even if you don't know if everything will work out the way you want it to, if you're passionate about it, there will always be that fire in your soul that keeps you going with a genuine grin. And the end result might be terrible. That doesn't matter. No one can take away the joy you felt in making it. At one point on YouTube, I wanted to make sketch comedy based around gaming logic. And the end result is terrible. I didn't have proper lighting, I didn't know how to chroma correctly, and the quality is awful. But I had so much fun making this video, because that is what I love doing. I love creating. I don't love making videos for YouTube. In fact, I would say I downright despise it with all the restrictions and limitations and suitable for advertiser rules we're supposed to follow. But what I do love is making the videos I'm passionate about. And depression isn't something so simple of just saying, do what you love, because it's not that simple. It's a neurological problem that can destroy what you once enjoyed for a day or a month or a week or however long that depressive episode feels. Trust me, I know, I have gone through that. But at the end of the day, I'm still passionate about making my videos. And there are days where I don't want to make my videos. That is completely true. But it's not because I don't want to talk about what I'm passionate about. I just don't feel like making a video that day. And I know in a few days or even a week later, I will have that passion again to talk about something I'm passionate about. I will see something I'm like, depression? Not today. Go sit in the corner right now. I'm making a video on this subject that's super dumb, but I want to talk about it. Depression? No. Go sit in the corner. Time out corner. Sit over there while I make my video. And that's kind of what happened with Joichiro. His burnout was lifted by finding his passion again. And it's in the simplest of things, by making a simple omelette, a simple egg fried rice, a simple rice bowl that isn't the fanciest thing ever, but you can taste the love that went into it. And that is what I strive to do with every one of my videos. I strive to make content that you can see the love that goes into it. To end this video, I want to leave you with a quote from a great philosopher. Happiness will never come from looking at how far you have to go, but by looking at how far you have come and deciding where your finish line is. Danahan, 2025.